Hey, what's going on, folks? We are on Ice Talk tonight, and we are going to cover the Anaheim Ducks. I know they're 1-0, and we will talk about the game. Real quick, the Penguins did win tonight 6-2. Big win. A lot of people are going to say they just played Arizona, but you know what? It's a win, and that's all that counts. Crosby, Gunsel, Russ, Zucker, Kapanen, and Evgeny Malkin all with goals. But let's bring in our guest tonight, and let's start kicking right into it. Let's do it. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. I'm glad the Penguins won tonight, as you were talking about. That's my other team. So my two bird teams are 1-0-0, baby.
17 years, still going strong.
There you go.
It's hard to root against that trio.
Yeah. I
Well,
love
I'm
it.
sure I'm sure if you're another team, I'm sure it's not easy to root for that trio.
Right. But yeah, I love my Pens and I love my Ducks. So happy to see them both start out, with a win.
Yeah, it's nice. It's regardless. Well, your boy Richie got 2 goals tonight. He scored the other goal.
Yeah, Richie, man. One of the guys that I don't know what happened, man. Drafted so high expectations,
First round
but
draft pick, right, by the Ducks in 14.
yeah, one of those high expectations. But that's why I always tell people too, when you get super excited about your prospects for your team that you're a fan of, you got to temper those expectations. Sometimes they just don't always work out.
I hate to say it, but if I'm a Detroit fan, what Stevie Eiserman's doing up there right now, he's doing something right. He is
Yeah,
building a depth machine.
yeah, and that's what Verbeek's trying to do in Anaheim as well, because you know that he learned under him. So
I was gonna break into that, but you stole the thunder.
sorry, I'll let you do the lightning.
No, that's fine. That's excellent. I love that where you caught where that was going, and that's what happens whenever you've been doing podcasting for a long time, right?
Yeah, you pick up on those cues, or you hope to.
Right. So you guys started in 2014, right?
Yeah. We started out Ducks and Pucks, just as a basically as a website, and then it kind of turned into a podcast and kind of grew from there. And right now it's me and my co-host Eddie Richard. We do the show. We're back on schedule. We did one this week. We're getting back to doing weekly shows, and it's been fun. We cover the Ducks and been doing it for a long time, and it's just something that we both work and have real jobs, so it's just something that we do on the side for fun.
Do you guys have trouble finding time, or have you guys been together long enough to know that you can just do it whenever?
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, both of our schedules are pretty crazy, so it just depends. A lot of times we're trying to do like the beginning of the week. Usually Monday, Tuesdays is when we try to do the show. It's how it kind of works out for us.
All right. Do you guys just do hockey, or is there a movement to football, baseball?
We pretty much just cover the Ducks and then the National League for hockey and whatnot. But sometimes we'll talk about other sports, not too much, but we mainly focus on hockey and the Ducks.
How do you guys stay active in the off season?
Yeah, the off season is a tough time. You usually we'll do one or two shows a month. That's about it. Go through free agency and whatnot. And then obviously August is that month where you're just like, oh my God, you're just waiting for September and preseason and rookie stuff and all that kind of, jazz. So yeah, summertime's a little bit rough.
So how excited were you to see Strom and Vetrano and Killingberg?
Oh, I was happy. I thought the Ducks did well. Verbeek bringing those guys in. We needed some more offense. That had been a problem with the team for a little while. So I liked what I saw, and you saw Vertrano and Strome both score in the home opener against Seattle. So they're already paying dividends early in. And those are two guys that they have the potential of scoring 20 goals each. So I thought bringing them in was a smart move on the decision by Pat Verbeek.
Klingberg had a couple points last night too, if I recall right. I know he had a point on the Z on the if this one timing thing on the power play for you guys is going to keep up with Klingberg and Zegras, this could be dangerous.
Yeah, and that was something that I talked about on our show before that I was looking forward to was the power play. Having those two together on there is going to be extremely dangerous, and I think you throw McTavish in the mix too. The Ducks power play is going to be something to
Tavish had, I think he had 3 assists last night, right? I think
Yeah, McTavish on there had 2 assists.
2 assists.
Yeah, he had 2 assists, and Klingberg had 2 assists as well, and they cashed in on the power play. That was something that worked well for the Ducks. They were 2 out of 3 on the power play. The penalty kill, not so much. They gave up 3 goals on 5 power plays. So it seems like the Ducks are doing better
Seemed like you were playing
offensively.
the ex-Penguins on the power play.
Yeah,
Brian
yeah,
McCann, Justin Schultz.
right.
They had it clicking a little bit last night.
The Ducks are doing better on the power play, but the problem is the penalty kill. They gave up 3 goals. They gave up 3 goals on the 5
Come on, you
times
want to make your
shorthanded.
cameo? All right, here my dog.
Bring in the dog. Bring him in.
She jumps in here every show. She's on the cover now of the Driving
Nice.
to the Top YouTube page. She's the main picture. Cameo
Nice.
Phoenix, I call her.
Nice.
I think I'm going to set up a camera for her,
You
like right in front of the TV, and we'll call it Cameo Dog. And then that way, if there's games going on, might be able to watch them.
You should. You should do an Instagram channel for the dog. I mean, they got all that stuff going right now. That's a big thing.
I know. I'm Driving to the Top Network Productions just got TikTok and Instagram, and we're slowly getting everywhere. You can't go everywhere quickly, even though you're supposed to. But in reality, if you want it to go right, you take your time.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, look, I just threw this together. Blah blah blah. Oh, looks good.
Yeah. That's kind of how our podcast was in the early days. We just threw stuff together. I haven't gone back and listened to them, but I'm sure back in 2014 they sounded pretty bad.
Hold on. Shit. Go ahead.
You having some issues? Y'all good?
Technical difficulties. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
All right. Sorry. I stood up real fast one day and the headphone ripped the microphone jack where the headphones go. And it's like, it's like an old cartridge for a Nintendo game. You gotta.
Oh, it's all good. The last show I did, I the next one I do, I gotta apologize because I hit the wrong button when I recorded, so the audio was a little bit off, and I was like, "Oh my god, man! Like this is such a rookie mistake," and it was all just because I hit the wrong button. I didn't even realize till afterwards, and played back the sound, and I was like, "Damn it!" But that stuff happens. It's all good.
So, real quick, I usually let everyone plug their shows in the beginning and the end, just so my fans will also check out your work.
Yeah.
If you want to plug it real quick, you can.
Yeah, for us, for hockey, covering the Ducks and whatnot, it's just ducksandpucks.com. It's Ducks, the letter N, and then pucks.com. And you can go on there. We have plenty of articles on there covering the team. And anywhere you get your podcast, just type in the whole word as one continuous, Ducks and Pucks, and you'll find us. We're all over the place on different podcast platforms and whatnot. Same thing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. We're all just Ducks and Pucks. You just go on there, you'll find us.
Sweet. So when Gatlev and I'm horrible at names sometimes. I really buck up on names, you know what I mean?
Hey, this sport, if we had to choose a sport with the most difficult names, hockey is the sport.
I completely agree. How big of a loss retirement was Gatlev? Oh my God, Ryan Gatlev.
You're fine. No, I Getzlaf, I think, was huge because the team started out with 3 alternate captains. They're not able to figure out who the next captain's going to be. So you have, guys in there like Henrique and Silverberg doing the alternate captain duties right now, and they don't know. And GM Pat Verbeek said that it's kind of going to be an ongoing process. So they're not necessarily going to wait till the end of the season. They might pick someone in the middle of the season. But to me, it's a huge loss because the team doesn't have that one person that's guiding the team or giving them that mentorship or identity. It's kind of up for grabs right now. I understand why they're doing it, but I don't necessarily agree. I think a guy like Cam Fowler that's been on there for a while is a great person to put on there. Henrique was another name that had come up before. There's definitely some guys that they could put in there for that role. Some of the other questions have been, hey, what about a Zegras or a Terry? They're too young, they're too new, yada yada yada. I get that. If that's an issue, then I still think they could have put in like a Fowler or an Henrique for a year or two and then transition to one of the younger guys. I think that would have been fine too. So
You
I'm
think
not really a big fan of the alternates.
you think it could be Zegras? I mean, they're saying like he was the biggest mentor to Gatloff, all season. He really mentored him a lot. 37 goals. He seems to be picking up right where he's left off last year. Same with Terry. But do you feel that Zegras could step up into that role by the time they're ready to give it out? Do you think they're letting
Yeah.
him see if he'll step up? Like, hey, this is up for grabs. Do you want it?
Yeah, I think you mentioned the main ones right there, Zegras and Terry. I mean, Terry had those 37 goals last season. He already had two in the game opener, and I joked on Twitter, talking about him getting 164 goals. The track that he's going on, obviously, it's not going to happen. It's a joke.
That'd be awesome, though, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
it'd be a crazy record. But I would be happy with Terry or Zegras. I think both of them are great guys, and I think either one of them could step into that role. And I guess there's maybe some hesitancy because they're both new and whatnot, but I'm good with both of them. And if they emerge during the season and they put them in that role, I'm fine with that too. I just thought maybe they would put in one of the other guys now and then transition maybe at the end of the season or next season. But we'll have to see how it plays out. It's an interesting thing to develop because the identity of this team is it still hasn't been defined yet.
Are we going to get some alley-oop goals?
Yeah, apparently Zegras is talking about he's got something in the works, but he won't tell anybody what it is. He's being extremely quiet, but he's been working on something. So I'm really curious to see what he's got, up his sleeve that he's going to try at some point during the season.
I saw that goal, and it just that's crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. And to see Milano involved in that. That was another kind of a interesting question, was to see Milano not come back this season, even though he was in on that play. Very interesting. A lot of people were wondering what happened there, and he ended up not returning. But Zegras is going to make plays regardless who his line mates are. Zegras is going to make plays regardless who his line mates are.
Sorry, she's being crazy today.
That's all good.
No, it's a little wilder than normal. Do you think Zegras is going to get 40 goals?
I don't know if Zegras will get 40 goals. I think Terry has a better shot at that at this point.
Oh yeah, he's up one goal. He's on pace for 164, and
yeah, he got two in game one.
Pace for 82.
Yeah.
Which would still be tremendous.
Yeah. That would be pretty crazy.
I mean, could you see Ovechkin getting 164 goals and passing Gretzky this year?
Right.
I think he's down 160, I think.
Yeah.
That's just something. That's just something like in the rear view, but it's coming up quick.
Right. Absolutely.
I think he's going to get it, but that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with this team is I think they're going to be fun this season, and you're going to see them scoring a lot of goals. But the big question we talked about on my show is the defense with this team, and you saw that last night's game against Seattle. The first period they gave up 20 shots on goal, and if it wasn't for Gibson that first period, they would have gotten blown out. I mean, Gibson didn't play his best last night, but I mean, 3 out of the 4 goals he gave up, they were shorthanded. One of them right after they were down by 2 guys. So, it was tough. That first period was tough to watch, but the positive was the Ducks were down by 2 goals in the third period, were able to rally, come back and tie the game, and then win in overtime. So there is still some positives from this game. I just think this team, they're going to be exciting and fun to watch. And I think it's just going to be unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to happen every night when this team's on the ice.
Yeah, that I noticed that. And might that be because Drysdale and Klingberg are both offensive, defensive people?
Yeah, that's the issue that, with the Ducks defense is, you had Lindholm and Manson get shipped out last season. Now you have more of the two-way, offensive type defensemen on this team. You had Vakanainen, who did decent last season. We're looking forward to seeing this season. He fortunately crashed into the boards in the preseason, put on the IR, unknown when he's going to come back. But I mean, you look at the defense. You have Fowler, Shattenkirk, Kulikov, Klingberg, as you talked about. I mean, it's kind of tough. You got some offense on defense, but you don't have any like stand up, stay at home defenseman like a Manson type player on this team. So I'm a little bit nervous about the Ducks defense, and it, especially that first period last night. Oh my God, they got that first goal really early by Terry, but then after that, it was all the crack in the rest of that first period.
That's what I was going to ask. It looked like there was a lot of pinching going on, and that's how them shorthanded goals happened. Kind of, it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Klingberg, I mean, he's going to provide that offense. He's going to help out in the power play. But you're right. When you've got Fowler, Klingberg, Drysdale, all these guys that are pinching, playing a little bit more offensively than defensively, you're going to give up chances the other way, and it's tough. I think they're great guys, and the defense is decent. I think they need to get Vakanainen back. The other thing that hurt the team is they had Mahura. I know he's usually been the seventh guy, but they put him on waivers. He got picked up by Florida. I was hoping that he would maybe be that seventh guy and get in there on that bottom third pairing, and now he's out of it. So the Ducks have Beaulieu and the other guy, new guy White, that they brought in there. So it's just tough. They're dealing with some newer guys, and I just don't know how they're going to pan out. I think the Ducks defense is highly suspect this season, unfortunately.
Cam Fowler, John Klingman, and then they got Dmitry Kukulov.
Yeah, Kulikov's all right, and then correct. Yeah, you got Klingberg, Fowler, Drysdale, Shattenkirk, Beaulieu, and Kulikov. Kulikov seemed to be okay, but I'm just kind of concerned with this, especially on special teams. They got destroyed on the penalty kill last night. They gave up 3 goals and 5 opportunities and did not look good. So they're scoring more goals 5-on-5. They're scoring goals on the power play, but they're also giving up goals shorthanded.
That was a pretty pass by Gibson in overtime.
Yeah.
That looked like my GM, or the GM now that you like too as well. Unfortunately, played for the Flyers. Anyway, that was like a flip pass. Hextall going for the empty net. That was that kind of pass, and it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, Gibson made a great pass because you had the Kraken pinching in. They almost scored there in the overtime. He springs Terry the other way, and then with that nice backhand goal. So that was a great assist by Gibson, a great outlet pass. Great recognition, vision on the ice to get that out there and get Terry going the other way. And I mean, it proved worthy because the Ducks ended up getting that extra point when it looked like Seattle was going to win that game. Halfway through the third, they're up by 2. The Ducks hadn't played especially great, and they were able to pull it out. And the exclamation point there with the Terry goal and the Gibson assist.
That place was rocking.
Oh yeah, big time. A nearly sold out crowd on opening night, so it's fantastic. The Ducks played.
Are you guys normally not sold out?
It just depends. Usually in the beginning they are. When we had a lot of great seasons, 2015, 16, 17, 18, all those years the Ducks won the Pacific, that place was rocking, especially in the playoffs. The last couple seasons, it's been kind of hit or miss, but there's been a lot of stuff going on in the world, which I won't go into too much, keep that out of the show, but there's been a lot of that kind of stuff going on. So there's been people hesitant to go, and a lot of restrictions around the league, which it looks like they've been lifted, because for Honda Center, they're completely lifted this season. So I'm hoping that the place will be packed almost every night.
I was wondering how that affected. You are in California, so they do have heavier restrictions on all the COVID and all that other. I was just wondering how that, what the crowd's thinking. Have you gone to any games during all this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I did not go to the home opener this time around, but I do have season tickets. I'll be going to most of the games this season, and it just depended really with all the restrictions before, wearing the masks and whatnot. None of that's in there. Having negative tests and all that stuff's gone. And I know for a fact I've talked to a lot of season ticket holders that was a cause for concern, jumping through those hoops like, oh, I've got to go, do all these other things to go to a game. And some people straight up said they weren't going to do it. I still went to the games, not as many as I would like to have gone, but I went to a handful of the games. Just for me, there's just other personal things that were going on, but I was able to go to a handful last season and check it out. But it definitely affected what was going on. So now that there's no restrictions, I'm really happy, and I'm hoping to see a packed house most of the season, especially with all these young, exciting new players.
I think everything should be packed. But anyway.
Right, I know.
Yeah. I mean, if people are scared to go, then sell your tickets, give them
Mhm.
away.
Yep.
Let people go that maybe can't go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just me, though. So will Stroma Vertrano fill in Gatzloff's shoes? Will they help? Will they? I mean, obviously they helped last night, but I mean, what are you really expecting out of this signing of for depth wise, for growth wise? I mean, they're bringing some playoff experience with them. So what are you expectations of this whole the free agency signings of them for inside purposes?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think Vetrano and Strom definitely add an element to the team that's going to help out, especially in the top six role. I think they're going to be able to contribute and score goals and help these younger guys, Terry and Zegras, especially, and now McTavish in the mix. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do offensively in the top six role, for all of them. And I hope, those two guys, Strom and Vetrano, may not be alternate captains, may not be the captain down the road, but if they can help Zegras and Terry along those lines, that's kind of what I'm looking for right now. Because with Getzlaf out of the mix, a lot of people don't realize Getzlaf did a tremendous amount for this team. Yes, he scored goals. The biggest thing we always talk about is assists. He would pass more so than shoot, and we would always laugh about that. But that leadership in the locker room and the mentoring that he did on and off the ice, that's just something that you don't just develop overnight. And he brought that every night with this team, through the good times and the bad times. And that's what I'm hoping that these veteran players that they're bringing in can help McTavish, Terry, Zegras, Drysdale, the future of this team, turn into those captains and alternate captains, and lead this team for the next 10, 15 years.
All right. So what are you looking forward to with the 19 million that you're going to get at the end of the season for Verbeek to spend on the cap?
Yeah, that's been a big question with a lot of fans is, hey, we have all this extra money. What are we going to do? I part of it is he's holding off on these contracts with Terry, Zegras, and Drysdale. So obviously some of that money is going to be spent and set aside for those guys. So that's going to take up that. But I want to see what he's going to do. Klingberg's a big question mark too. They brought him in. He didn't get that big, huge deal he wanted. He signed the 1-year deal with the Ducks. Are the Ducks going to flip him at the trade deadline? That'll give him even more cap space. So what are they going to get? So I think Verbeek was smart in doing that because now we have cap space and we have people that we can flip for assets. So I want to see if he's going to bring in someone else. I mean, if he's going to keep Klingberg and sign him to a long-term deal, okay. But if not, we're going to have even more money. And what is he going to do? Is he going to keep building on draft picks and prospects and whatnot? Or is he actually going to try and get like a big name player next time around, whether it's the trade deadline or summertime? That's, I think, the big question. And I think a lot of it depends on how this team does. Shaky start to the beginning. It's kind of what I expected. The Ducks defense, as I talked about, I was concerned about that. The offense has definitely improved, but what are you going to do? I mean, you can't keep burning out this defense and wearing on Gibson, which has been a whole nother question. I mean, they leaned on him so heavily in the last couple seasons. You saw last season he did phenomenal in the first half, and I think he just got burnt in the second half. And you even saw a little bit of frustration on his face last night in the end of the first period. He was not happy with those 20 shots on goal at the end of that period. So I really want to see the defense. What is Verbeek going to do to improve the blue line on this team? Is he going to trade Klingberg, get other assets? Is he going to pick up somebody at the trade deadline, somebody in summer? What is he going to do? Because I felt like he added to this team offensively very, very well. And yes, like I talked about, Vakanainen is out, which hurts. But the defense, I don't know. I'm concerned. I want to see him bring in somebody that can play a top four role and shut down the opponents. That for me is probably number one. I mean, it's only been one game. It's early in the season, but that's after that. Watching that first period, I mean, a lot of us were losing our mind. I mean, the Ducks were able to turn around the second half of the game, but I mean, defense wins championships. You can't rely always on offense, especially in hockey. You've got to be able to shut down that other team, and if the Ducks can't do that, it's going to be a long season.
Yeah, you guys don't have an enforcer either, huh?
That's another big one. Oh my God. If you talk about the enforcer thing amongst Ducks fans, they go ballistic. You have half the fans are like, we don't need an enforcer. Who cares? That's dinosaur hockey. We don't need that kind of player. And then you have the other half that are like, yes, we need that guy. We talk about, going back in time. I always go back to Grimson and Ewan. I date myself, but I've been a Ducks fan since the beginning. But those were the guys that protected Korea and Solani back in the day. I'm not saying that you need those type of guys. But when you had D'Lo in there, D'Lo could score. D'Lo could play defense. He could forecheck. He could do a lot of things. Another guy that comes to mind is Sam Carrick on this team. Fortunately, he's out right now. He had hip surgery in the off season. He is skating this month. We'll hopefully get him back, if not the end of the month, maybe November. But you need to have those guys in there that are going to help protect your star players. And, it's even like you talk about Wayne Gretzky. I mean, he had his boy too in there. I mean, these guys had players that help him out. So, I'm not saying you need the goon player, but you definitely need some tough guys in the lineup that are going to help out. And it's just funny, though, when you talk about this, it's just so funny how polarizing it is amongst the Ducks fans on social media. They get crazy about this topic, about a tough guy. I mean, it's like there's no middle ground. It's like, we don't need a tough guy. And there's other people that, oh, yeah, we need a tough guy. I think you need an all-around guy, a guy that will.
There's no middle ground in this topic, even in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, you're right. And around the league.
We really feel that because we didn't have the enforcer, we lost.
Yeah, I think that's
the first
thing.
round last year.
Right, and I think it's a thing where, you saw Raquel get hit hard for you guys, and that was unfortunate. And so I think having those guys, I'm not talking about a guy that just runs out there and kicks the other guys.
From you guys.
Right. But I don't think you want a guy that's just going to go out there and just strictly kick people's asses. That's not what we're talking about.
Why didn't they resign Zach Aston Reese?
I don't know. That's a great question. I thought that
he still went signed too, though. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, I thought when the Ducks picked him up, I didn't know if he was just going to hang out for a little bit or they were going to bring him in for a little bit longer, but they didn't. Maybe with Strome and Vetrano coming in, that and giving McTavish the shot, that's what Verbeek wanted to do. Which, I mean, that makes sense. That would have put Aston Reese in a bottom six role, maybe. But
it'd be better than playing nowhere.
Yeah, right. But you're right. That whole topic of the tough guy thing is an interesting question. It's very polarizing amongst just hockey fans in general. It is. To me,
like the NHL is so against it, but I mean, like the Rangers, who'd they have? Ryan Graves, or right. I mean, jeez, the ex-Penguin, the ex-enforcer, Revis.
Right. Exactly.
And they went to the conference finals.
Yeah. You always need a guy. He's not just going to be a guy, like I said, it's going to kick ass. You need a guy that can forecheck. You need a guy that can add some offense, play decently on defense. Of course, they've got to do more than just fight, of course. You have to have that. But trying to talk about this with people, it just gets them like red in the face. I just crack up. I sit there and watch people comment. on social media, and I just watch the fireworks fly because
It's
my
one of the
co-host.
biggest topics. You're
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
correct.
Oh yeah. My co-host Eddie is more vocal about it. He posted some stuff about it, and people are just throwing all kinds of stuff at him on Twitter. And I just sit back and I'm just like, whatever. I save my opinions more for podcasts. And I think there still is a role for that. Is it a guy that just runs around and is a bowling ball crashing into people? No, it's got to be a guy that's more well-rounded, obviously. But is there still a
I
place
mean,
for it in the
you can't be
game?
like
Yes.
Matty Cook, right?
Yeah. There's still a place. There's still a place for it, I think. Unless
Unfortunately, those guys that took it overboard are the ones that ruined it.
right, and that's the problem. And that's why you have this pushback from the other side. And
Like
so I mean
even the guy that's still in the league by the name of Tom Wilson is somehow still in the league.
exactly. And I mean, you could turn this around and say, hey, I mean, for those people that aren't into this, then okay, let's just not have a no fighting, no checking league. Good luck with that. Do you really want that? Do you
That'd
want
be
a
the
no
Olympics
fighting, no
every 4 years. Enjoy it.
exactly. And
Every
I
two
will tell
years, right? Winners
right.
every two, whatever.
Yeah, every 4. But no, but you're right. I mean, here's the thing: you take away the checking, you take away fighting. You really think a majority of people are going to be happy with that? They're not going to be happy
You
with
think
that.
they're even going to want to watch?
No, I'm not saying you
Like,
need fighting every night, but people like hard hits. They do like some of those scraps and scrums in front of the net.
right? They like getting excited.
Yeah, it's part of the game.
It's like watching NASCAR and you don't enjoy the wreck.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless someone happens to die, then that's a
No,
different story.
that's you're right, right, and that's the same thing. We don't want players getting hurt,
Right.
obviously,
I
obviously.
mean, but watching a car flip 4 times and the guy walks out, you're like, all right.
And you know what's crazy about that? I have 2 people, one my brother and one a coworker. That happened to both of them, and they walked out. One my brother, drunk driver, passed out in the middle of the freeway. My brother doesn't see it. The car's blacked out. Middle of the night, hits the car, rolls over like 8 or 9 times. Ends up getting airlifted out of it, but was fine. I couldn't believe it. He was okay. And I had another friend was out in like Riverside County out here in California, and he got cut off. Just an accident by a lady, and his car Camaro got totaled, spun. I don't even know how many times. He came out of that completely fine. Crazy, crazy. So I've known 2 people that have been in rollovers. One, my brother, and then a good friend, a coworker that were both okay. But sorry to go on a tangent, but yeah, I mean
Oh,
it's
you're
crazy.
fine. You're fine. Because
You're
I was just
crazy.
thinking like how unlucky Tiger
Yeah.
Woods was.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, if you want to talk about a big
I
name
mean,
person,
he's walking now and walked away from it, but at the time,
right,
everyone
right.
thought that was it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I still think that you got to have checking, you got to have fights in hockey. You still have to have it, and
I
I
I
know,
love it. It makes the whole thing.
yeah, and I know, and whenever we talk about this, it's just so funny. That thing gets people nuts. The bigger thing too that got people crazy in Duckland was the preseason, because we had a lot of people get hurt in preseason. So the question is, do you have preseason or how many games is it? I'm all for shortening it up a little bit, but I still think you have to have
There's
some
only
kind of
4
preseason.
games, right? 5
Yeah,
games.
well, yeah, the Ducks had 7, so I'm
And
fine with it going down to 4 or 5. But they were concerned because you had Zegras getting hurt, Vakanainen got hurt, McTavish got hurt. Obviously, Zegras and McTavish came back. You had things going on, a lot of turmoil in there because you had Arizona, the
maybe they
big
should
check
do
on
the no
Zegras.
checking thing in preseason.
And with that, I would be fine with that. Honestly,
And
in the
that way,
preseason,
we can have full,
yeah, in the preseason, let them do their thing. That way, they're good to go.
right.
I never thought about that. You bring up a good point, Adam, and I think in the preseason, if you want to keep that tone down because it's preseason, fine. Because some other people were talking
No one's
about,
paying attention anyway.
yeah, and some people were saying, well, why not just have inter squad matches? Okay, you can have inter squad match, but that's the intensity is never the same against a team
Who the
that's
hell's going
not,
to watch that?
yeah, you
Hey,
still
look,
gotta have some
A's
preseason.
playing B today.
Right, right. Which they do that in the rookie camp. Some other things, I get that, but I'm with you. Maybe
That's a whole
they
different
tone
thing. Rookie camp's a whole different thing.
right, but maybe they do tone it down. Maybe they tone it down for preseason. That way they can make sure the players go healthy in the full season. I'm with that. But in the regular season, let it roll, man. Let it roll. They've already changed. You know this too from hockey back in the day. They used to mug Lemieux. They used to mug Yager. They used to
You
mug
needed a Kevin
Solani.
Stevens in front of that net. You needed
Yeah.
the enforcer, Jay Caulfield. You needed that.
Right. But I mean, the rules have changed too, though. People have forgot about that. You used to be able to tackle these guys back in the day and get away with all kinds of stuff in the 90s and the early 2000s, and the
Like
rules
what?
changed.
Like you already mentioned Gretzky earlier, but I mean, no one was mugging that dude.
Well, yeah, he had Marty McSorley. I mean, and people can give crap for Marty McSorley, but I mean, he's the one that was there to help out.
Well, then then he swung his stick at the dude.
Well, yeah, that is where we start getting too crazy. Unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah,
that
okay, that's not needed.
right, absolutely. That's where we're getting too crazy.
I mean, I get it. There's some hits that you can't avoid that are dangerous. I mean, these guys are skating 20 miles an hour.
Yep, absolutely.
It's hard to stop on a damn dime.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I've only skated, I think, 3-4 times in my lifetime on ice.
Yeah.
And it's hard to stop.
It is.
I mean, I'm not a professional or nothing, but I mean, I know it was hard to stop.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
I don't know if you skated or played or whatever.
I didn't really play a whole lot of hockey. I've skated, but you're right. You get that momentum going. You're trying to stop. It's like, oh my God. It's
So
like
sometimes those hits cannot be avoided.
no.
So I don't know. Like sometimes you just have to ask yourself, could have they stopped?
Right. Yeah, and that's the one thing on the Zegers hit with Genick. Some people were pretty upset about that, but Zegers had his head up in that game against Arizona, and it was a good hit. I mean, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it was a dirty hit," and yada yada yada. Zegers even came out and said, "No, it was a clean hit. I got the wind knocked out of me. The guy's trying to make the team. He made a good hit." And I really didn't think the hit was dirty. I mean, when I saw it at first, I was like, "Oh man," slowed it down. Looked like maybe he followed through with the elbow. I was more concerned about Zegers and his shoulder. I thought maybe he injured his shoulder. I didn't really see a whole lot of head contact. We can argue about whether or not you should deliver that kind of check in preseason. I think we can all argue that. But as far as it being over the top and dirty, I'm with Zegers. I didn't really think it was dirty. Was it necessary? We could debate that all day, but I really didn't think it was malicious or whatnot.
Maybe we should start a petition on this clean preseason, no check hockey, and see if people actually like it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
We could call it the keep people healthy toward regular season games.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's stop the injuries in the preseason.
So but we both know watching hockey, playing hockey, maybe we know injuries are right at the door.
Yep.
And sometimes they hit you, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, you can really luck out from that. I mean, we've seen Crosby get hurt. We've seen Malkin get hurt. We've seen, I'm sure you've seen your fair share of injuries in your neck of the woods as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Ducks have been notorious for that. Unfortunately, they've had a couple seasons where it was just rough with a lot of guys getting hurt, and I mean, it's part of the game, unfortunately. And I think the big one, I know we talked about this before we started this, was Gibson. A lot of people are concerned about Gibson. He got hurt in the last preseason game, came out and started that game in Seattle. And so, that's another polarizing question. When you talk about the Ducks, is the future of John Gibson with this team is, do they trade him and get assets, or do they keep him in for the long haul? I'm really curious to see what this team does. There's so many rumors about him in the last 2 seasons, what they were going to do. He's from Pittsburgh, a lot of connections there with Burke and whatnot. They're talking about it. Will he go back to the Penguins, or not go back, but will he go back to Pittsburgh and play for the Penguins? So there's a lot of that discussion going on. I'm really curious to see what happens with him. We have Stolars and Dostal in the wings for the for this team, and that's another big topic. People. They go back and forth. It seems like people love or hate Gibson amongst our fans. It's crazy. You bring that up, and another polarizing topic for this team is whether they go for Gibson in the long haul or not.
Sorry.
Bless you.
She keeps throwing this damn bone around, and it's really loud. I don't know if you can hear it or not.
She's a dog, man.
She's just getting a little crazy. So who are, besides you said trying to work out the long-term contracts with Zegers and Terry,
Right.
Who else is going to be the free agents at the end of the year?
Well, I mean, looking at this team, they're gonna have to figure out with those guys. Yeah, Drysdale, Terry, Zegras are the big ones that they're gonna have to try to figure out. You got Fowler in there for a while. You have Derek Grant that's in there right now. That's going to be a UFA coming up next season. And well, Klingberg, as I talked about, is a big one. You have Shattenkirk that's coming up. Kulikov.
I was going to say they're all restricted free agents too. I'm on the page right now. It looks like Jamie
Yeah.
Drysdale is also a restricted free agent.
Yeah, Drysdale's restricted, and then the defense is a big question. You have a lot of UFAs in there. You have Klingberg, Shattenkirk, Kulikov, Beaulieu. They're
That's
all,
part of your top
you know,
6 right there.
yeah. I mean, you have a lot in
It's
there.
4 of your 6, right? 3 of your 6.
Yeah. You have Fowler signed to his long-term deal, and then all the rest of these guys. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with all these guys next season?
Actually, that's all 5 almost, right?
Yeah, it's everybody on there is either a UFA or RFA except for Colton White and then obviously Fowler.
So that's my big question. That we were just talking about might be going right back into contracts.
Yeah, so that's my big thing is like, what are they going to do on the defense?
Anthony Stolarz is a free agent too after this year.
Yeah, you're right. He's on there too. And Vakanainen, he's an RFA, but not till 2024-25, so he's still in the mix. But yeah, I mean, defense is my concern with this team. What are you guys going to do with this defensive team? You got Dostal is also an RFA at the end of the season. Eckerson Ek too is another one. You know, Callie Klang they brought in for a couple years too. So I mean, they've got some goalies in the pipeline. So I'm really curious if. Hey, who else are they going to sign, bring back defensively this season? And then are they going to ride out Gibson or not? You know, that's the big question to me. I think offensively, I think this team will be okay.
What are your thoughts on Gibson?
You know, I
keep giving everyone else's opinion from what you're reading, but I haven't really heard yours.
You know, mine. I mean,
if they were even asked you yet.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to trade him last season and get a boatload for him, I actually would have been okay with that. I would have been. I think Stolarz and Dostal, if you're going to roll with those guys, I honestly, I'm fine with that. I think the biggest concern with Gibson is injury stuff for a lot of people, but also for me, kind of his attitude too. You've seen him get super frustrated at times. So if that's the defense playing poorly, or is that him? So you got to fix this. You either you get the defense shored up and you ride with Gibson, or you're going to go with someone else. But they have to figure that out, and that's my concern. You traded away Lindholm and Manson. You didn't bring him back. They both left. You know, Lindholm went to Boston, signed that big deal, whatever. He didn't have so much nice things to say about the Ducks. So
was there not a lot of cap money this year to sign them guys?
No, I mean, I think they could have, but the big thing is Verbeek's doing the rebuild. So he wanted to get these draft picks and bring in other people, which I'm fine with that. I really had hoped that they had brought back Manson. Manson won the cup, obviously, in Colorado. I was looking forward to him coming back, but then he decided to stay there and sign, for a couple more years on. So that was a little frustrating for me. So I think Lindholm and Raquel, they were going to leave and they weren't coming back. Everything that I had heard.
Making that trade at the deadline to the Penguins was definitely the right move then.
Yeah, I think all those trades were the right move. The only one I thought maybe was Manson would go out and come back. I thought maybe there was a chance for that. It obviously didn't happen. So for me, if the Ducks are going to ride it out with Gibson, fine. But you got to give this dude some help. He's been getting frustrated the last couple seasons. If you want to just go completely full rebuild and blow this shit really up, trade Gibson, go with Dostal, go with Stolarz, get a bunch of more picks in there, and go for it. I mean, if that's what you're gonna do, that's kind of where I'm at a little bit. Last season, I was ready at the trade deadline. I'm like, well, Lindholm, Raquel, Manson, they're all going. D'Lo, they're all going. Okay, is Gibson gonna go or not? And then he ended up not going.
You think anyone wanted him?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in Gibson. Absolutely.
I mean, obviously you're there, so you would have heard more than, maybe off of the radio or, you do a Ducks podcast, so obviously you would know a lot more than Joe Schmo like me.
Yeah, there was interest for sure. I know Pittsburgh was interested in Gibson, and I kind of was wondering in
We should have
that
used
was a
them
couple
whenever all the
years.
goalies went down in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was talk about Gibson in Pittsburgh a few years back, and I was kind of like, I don't think so. And then this
Right.
last season, there was more talk about it. I was like, you know what? This from the different people I was hearing stuff from, I was like, okay, Pittsburgh is pretty interested in him right now. So there was that option. There's been a couple other teams out there, but I think that they could move him, and they could get a boatload for him. So if they did, I wouldn't be that upset. But if they're going to go with him right now, if Verbeek says, "Hey, I'm not trading Gibson. Gibson's my guy," fine. But we've got to improve the defense on this team because you can't give up 20 shots on one period. I don't care what period it is, first, second, third period. You can't give 20 shots on goal for your goaltender. That's just absurd. I don't care what team you are in the NHL. You give up that many shots. I mean,
That's a lot of
you're really
shots.
yeah, you're taxing your goalie. And I mean, yeah, he stopped 19 out of 20 in that first period, but still,
He was screened really bad on that one goal too.
right. And three of the four were shorthanded. So I mean, I don't fault Gibson at all. I think he's played lights out. I think the second half of the season last year he got burnt. I think part of it too was the usage of Gibson. If you know that he's getting frustrated, then put in the backup a little bit more often. I think that was one of my concerns last season is with Dallas Aikens is, hey man, stop rolling with Gibson every night. If you know that either he's tweaked something or he's getting frustrated, dude, give him a night off here and there, especially the second half of the season. We weren't going to make the playoffs. Don't try to push him. You don't need him to play 60 games if we're not going to make it. I mean, it's early in the season right now. So I'm fine with them trading him. Honestly, I was fine with them trading him last season. I really was. As long as the return made sense. That's
Right.
the key. That's the key for me.
As long as that return sounds I mean, that's any trade you want to
Yeah,
return.
I mean exactly. But with
I mean,
Gibson being up there,
unfortunately, like you get draft picks,
right?
you're not going to know that return for 1 to 2 years unless you get the jumper that comes straight to the NHL,
Absolutely,
which
absolutely.
they usually don't let that happen anymore unless you're Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby,
Right,
you know,
right.
where they know that they don't have to go down.
Absolutely, absolutely, my man. But
Uh,
it's gonna be a crazy ride this season. I am really curious to see how this team does. I do think that they have a chance to make the playoffs. I do, based upon what I've. It's only one game, super early. I do think they can. Are they a team that's going to contend, win the Pacific, go get a cup? No, they're not. Now, obviously, trade deadline comes around and more crazy stuff happens. Of course, things can change. But beginning the season, they're going to be fun and exciting to watch for sure. And I'm still going to tune in every night, whether I'm there or watching on the TV or whatnot. And last night was a lot of fun. I mean, it started out poorly, but the second half of that game was exciting to watch, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to be fun to watch these guys: McTavish,
it's
Terry,
one
Zegras.
game too. It's hard to be judgmental after one
Yeah,
game.
yeah, it is. It's 60 minutes, or last night 60 plus minutes because of the overtime.
Right, and it only went 31 seconds or something,
Yeah, it
or
was
like a
right in that
minute
over.
31 or something. It wasn't
Yeah,
very long.
it was very, very quick in the overtime.
Well, I
So,
mean, that's what happens when you're on a 3-on-3 and you try to pinch.
yep, yep.
I mean, we have three of the, well, not maybe not three of the fastest, but we got a pretty good three-headed monster whenever time
Oh yeah, big
if
time.
they get on the ice at the same time.
Oh yeah, big time.
But but yeah. So have you seen Connor McDavid play yet?
No, the only game I really caught was the game last night with Ducks and the Kraken. I haven't caught any others yet.
No, I meant like, have you seen him play live?
No, not live, but I mean on TV. Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
they're on that. They're on that Pacific West Coast sportscast.
Oh
What
yeah.
is
Oh
that?
yeah.
What is that?
For us, it's Valley Sports West. It used to be Fox Sports West in Southern
There's
California.
Pacifics. There's Pacific West too.
Yeah, there's a couple other channels, but no, yeah, I've seen him play, and I mean, yeah, he's amazing, man. You can't,
I got to see
I
him.
got
I got to
nothing
see him
negative.
live last year. It was the one game I
Nice.
chose as my Christmas gift.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm planning. You know what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to go to the Winter Classic with Boston and Pittsburgh. So
You're
I'm planning
flying
to
over.
go. Yeah,
I
I have not gone to a Winter Classic game, and that's something on my bucket list. So
did you
I
get
already
tickets?
bought. Yeah, I already bought my tickets.
Where are you sitting?
Spent way too much money. High up, super high up. You know, the cheap seats, high up. You know, I just want to go and see it. The only one I saw live was the Ducks and the Kings back in the day at Dodger Stadium. So I want
That
to
was at
see.
Dodger Stadium, right?
Yeah,
That had to
yeah.
be weird. I mean, it probably wasn't that cold.
No, no, and that's the thing. That's why my other half and I we want to go somewhere where it's like legit, like, hey, it's a Winter Classic. You know, we want to go outside and see
Are
it.
you
So
going there for Christmas and hanging out a couple days?
no, we're just gonna go New Year's, and then we'll just go see because, like I said, Pittsburgh's my other team. So
No, I know.
we'll
I
go.
meant like
So,
you're going to go see Boston for a couple days.
oh yeah. We'll go check out the city for a little bit. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
pretty nice little city.
Yeah, I have not
Um,
been there, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'll have to let you hook up with Tom. He's my Boston guy.
Nice. Sounds
So
good.
he lives right
Sounds good.
outside of Boston.
Perfect. Sounds good, my man.
So we'll definitely I'll hook you up with that.
Sounds good.
But that's the way we do it.
Yeah.
You gotta be talking to people.
Oh
It's the way
yeah.
we do things.
Absolutely, my man.
You know what I
100%.
mean?
100%.
So what are your expectations? Are playoffs? Maybe one
I
round?
maybe.
And
Yeah.
happy?
I don't know if they will make it or not, but if they do, they'll probably make it get bounced in the first round. But I'm not really that worried about that. I just want this team to improve and play better overall, and be consistent. That's what I want to see. That's my biggest thing. I want them to get back to where they were, like I said, 2014, 15, 16, when they were in the mix every year. We knew they were going to be in the playoffs. We knew they were the top of the Pacific. They were a contender every year. I just want them to get back to that. So if they make the playoffs or don't, I'm not really not stressed about it. I just want them to play well and consistent.
I think that's what everyone wants.
Right, of course. But we were spoiled for a while. We were playing so good for so long, and then now we've
Right.
had a few seasons where it's just been like, oh my god, it's been painful.
Well, at least you had to see a Stanley Cup too.
Yes.
I did. I did. What year was that? Chris Kunitz was on that Cup team, right?
Yeah, 2007. I was at every single playoff game that year.
See, the
Yeah,
Penguins
yeah,
in Anaheim do a lot of trading.
yeah. I know, right? Kind of weird. Yeah, maybe Gibson to Pittsburgh. You never know.
We'll see. Sullivan seems to be pretty hooked on Jari and DeSmith.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, we've been going an hour. Do we have much more? I'm sure you have all kind of. I'm sure you could talk Ducks all day long.
Yeah. I mean, no, I think we're pretty good, man. I'm just ready to roll. See what happens the rest of the season. It's going to be a fun time.
Right. Well, you're in top of the division right now, right?
Yeah, I know. Tied for first. Woo!
It's so hard to be happy after one game.
Right. Exactly.
But at one point in the season, we might have been in first.
Right. Hey, we'll take it.
So it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, we got to do this again. I appreciate it.
Maybe we'll meet up halfway through, or maybe we'll get a little round table going with some other guys, some
Hell
other
yeah.
teams, and we'll just have a little collab. I love doing that. That's what I do on my other show, my Sports Talking Wish show. That's what I do. I just kind of bring people on, and we talk about stuff.
Sounds good, Adam. I'm down for it anytime, man.
Let's do it, man.
All right. Perfect.
So go ahead, give a shout out, let them know where you're at and where to find you again, just so they can.
Yeah, it's ducksandpucks.com. It's ducks, the letter N, and then pucks.com. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Just check it out there. And we're pretty much any podcast platform, we're on it. So Ducks and Pucks, all one word.
I'm not on Apple yet. I signed up for it, but I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I do it through Podomatic, and it links it to Apple. That's like my hosting website, but it's on all that stuff. Google, Amazon, you can find us everywhere. You can just type in the Ducks and Pucks and then podcast, and you'll be able to find us.
Well, all right. I'm still learning, obviously. I only started April 12th last year, so.
Yeah, it's all good, man. I totally get it, man.
So we're getting there. Actually, I just started this year, actually.
Nice.
Sure
Nice. It's all
I'm
good.
a
You got
late
to
bloomer
start.
compared to you.
No, man. I'm no expert either, man. I mean, I've done it for a while. It doesn't really say a whole lot, but we're all in this, man. It's fun. I love doing podcasts with other people,
I like
you know,
talking to people, so this
yeah,
helps.
yeah, 100%.
So, but yes, thank you for stopping by. We will definitely if you want to hang out for a little bit afterwards, we can. Maybe I can get Tom to pop on real quick and you can meet him.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
So yeah, just I'm gonna end this and thank you for stopping by. All my plugs are at the end here on the credits.
Nice.
So
Sounds good.
well hey guys, everyone, thanks for stopping by. Hope we learned some stuff about the Anaheim Ducks tonight. It's always helpful, even though we didn't go over any fantasy. Anyone from the fantasy world you'd want to have on
You
your
know what?
team for sure?
I avoid all that. That stuff stresses me out, man. I avoid fantasy like football and hockey. I avoid all. I get too stressed out. So I'm not the one
Sweet.
to talk to for the fantasy stuff. Sorry.
I was just wondering,
Yeah,
just throwing
yeah.
out a quick
No,
question.
pick up Terry or Zegras. That's what I'll tell you. And
There you go.
McTavish.
Well, hey man, thanks for stopping by. We're gonna end this, and like I said, hang out afterwards. I'll see if I can get Tom to come up real quick, and that way maybe you two can hook up for Boston.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy, hold on. Thank you for stopping by, everybody, and everybody have a